Chinese press said it is difficult to imitate China's industrialization. It will be a disaster for India. The following is the content of the article. Please follow along. India wants its manufacturing industry to flourish, but its labor force is flowing back to the countryside, the US Wall Street Journal reported on 5th January. Although the Indian government is encouraging the creation of more jobs in the manufacturing industry, in recent years it has tens of millions of workers have returned to rural areas, and factories across the country are facing difficulties in recruiting workers. Some experts warned that this may have a catastrophic impact on India's economic structural development. According to reports, the sudden lockdown under the new crown epidemic in 2020 caused a large number of Indian workers to flow back to rural areas from cities. At the same time, India continues to implement a food welfare program covering 800 million people, providing 5 kilograms of rice or wheat to people affected by the blockade every month, further encouraging part of the working population to stay in rural areas. With national elections approaching in early 2024, the Indian government announced in November last year that it would extend the program for another 5 years. For all of the above reasons, the number of agricultural workers in India has increased by about 60 million in the past 4 years. The Wall Street Journal stated that many people originally thought that this would only be an easily reversible episode in India's journey towards becoming an industrialized country. However, even after most parts of India got rid of the impact of the epidemic last year, India's agricultural employment population still an increase of 13 million. For example, in the central Indian city of Indore, an industrial center with about 1,000 factories, Devendra Jain, managing director of Porwal Auto Components, a foundry and machining company, said that before the outbreak, the company there were once about 1,000 welders, painters and other skilled workers, but now there are only about 700 workers left, making it difficult to complete orders. Its upstream suppliers are also facing similar problems. In the northern Indian state of Haryana near the capital, businessman Mahesh Khatri also struggled to fulfill orders for 10,000 cardboard boxes and tapes every month because his number of workers dropped from 55 to 38. Khatri provided workers with free accommodation but did little to recruit them. Zia Yin believes that his company can hardly find workers because workers receive more benefits in their hometowns. Khatri said bluntly, workers would rather suffer poverty in the village than suffer poverty in the city. The Wall Street Journal noted that dissatisfaction among migrant workers in big cities has been building for years as slow job growth has depressed wages while housing and food costs have risen. Workers working in small factories in poorer states said they receive about 10,000 to 12,000 rupees, about 853 to 1,024 yuan, a month. In rural areas, some said their incomes were similar. Deepak Porwal, 35, returned to his hometown in Madhya Pradesh, central India, during the 2020 epidemic lockdown. He said he tried many times to find a job in the city but failed to find any job. Jobs that make more money. Now, while growing soybeans and working part-time as an insurance agent, he earns a total of about 12,000 rupees a month. Many factories and companies are still closed, and those that have reopened are offering wages that are less than half of what they were 3 years ago, Polvar said. We have almost no money to send anything back home. In order to earn a little, what's the point of being away from your family and your village for a small amount of money? With India's GDP growth rate exceeding that of other major economies, The development path India will take is completely opposite to what many economists originally expected. World Bank data shows that the share of manufacturing in India's GDP has from about 17% 20 years ago to 13% in 2022. India now has a total of 65 million manufacturing jobs, which is only an increase of 5 million compared with shortly before Modi was first elected Prime Minister. The Wall Street Journal mentioned that the industrialization process, in which a large number of agricultural laborers entered factories, has helped improve the living standards of hundreds of millions of Chinese people, while China's economic growth has stimulated demand for commodities and provided consumers with cheap goods, making the world benefits from it. But now, India, which many people have high hopes for, seems to have embarked on the path of deindustrialization prematurely. According to estimates, India, with a population of 1.4 billion, surpassed China last year and became the world's most populous country. However, India's per capita GDP is only about $2,400, which is not as good as Bangladesh. The report warned that India may face the risk of missing out on the huge labor dividend, while a large number of the country's population is struggling with long-term unemployment or underemployment. This also means that the world may not be able to count on India to be a powerful engine for global economic growth like China. You just watched the video on Global TV channel. Remember to subscribe to the channel and click like so we can see you again in the next video. Goodbye.